My thought process there is, I mean, shit, do people know who you are?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
All right. And
absolutely right.
You have it. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, right? I never want to be on the arrogant side. I always be on the confident side. You are surrounded by some really fucking influential, high-level, high-performing people. Mm-hmm. Where did you get that? Where did you come? Like, do people know what your background is?
Probably not. Probably
100% market share of the highest horsepower applied to the ground in the world.
Yeah.
You understand what it is to be at the highest level.
Yep.
And you took that and did something different, and still are wildly integrated with those people.
Yeah.
Right. So
with top performers across different industries. You're right.
So and that's
a great segue. Yeah.
It sure is.
Start.
Right.
Yep.
So
today's episode is super special. A lot of my guests in the past have been flippers, wholesalers, investors, or people that have some sort of profession in the realm of real estate. But today we have Joe Rivera, who owns ProTorque. ProTorque is a torque converter company that manufactures the highest performance parts for race cars in a lot of different categories. Joe knows what it means to be the best. It takes a really special person and personality type to be relentless in the pursuit of improving your product, your service, and yourself so you can be the highest level that there is. This is a man that I respect very deeply, and I'm honored to have him on the show. I hope that you get a lot of value out of the following conversation. To support this podcast, please like, follow, share, comment, do all the things. Don't forget to subscribe. So today I'm super excited to have Joe Rivera here on the podcast.
Not as excited as I am.
Nah, no way. So it's impossible for me to start after you giving me the direction to introduce you as the biggest failure.
Oh, for sure. I am the biggest failure you'll ever meet.
I cannot agree with that, and we'll talk about that. We will talk about that.
Well, it's very simple. I have failed more times than I've been right. I'm wrong more than I'm right.
Ooh, okay.
I've just been right enough to make it count. Right? And I'm going to keep failing because you can't progress unless you fail.
That's absolutely right, man. I couldn't agree more. But I think when you frame it that way, a lot of people that don't have that success and growth mindset are like, oh man, this dude's calling himself a failure. Like, what the hell? What does that really mean?
I'm a realist. And listen, I had said to somebody had asked me one time, what is your biggest strength and what is your biggest weakness? I go, it's just, they're the same. What's that? Well, I fail all the time. What do you mean? I fail. I'm wrong a lot. But I dust myself up and I keep going. If you don't do that, so the biggest, the down is, oh man, I fail. I wish I was right more often. I wish I was always right, but that's unrealistic.
Yeah, no, it's not real.
So I've been wrong more than I've been right, but I've been right enough to make it count. And whether I'm right or I'm wrong, I get up, I dust myself off, and I keep going.
And that's a fundamental way to live, right? Because you have to fail to move forward and everything. But so many people are just afraid of that failure without realizing that it's a fundamental part of growth, right?
That's exactly right.
So, segueing from that right into what does Joe Rivera do? So you own ProTorque, the company that sells torque converters to the performance racing industry, which is also how we met.
That's exactly right.
So I was working for Rob Bonifant with Bonifant Friction, who makes clutches for the highest performing race cars on the face of the earth, right?
And that was my whole point in reaching out to you. You had made a post or a blog or whatever. What are these called?
Podcast, reel.
You made a reel. You know, I got X amount of people, and I'm like, wait, he should have way more than that. This kid's a powerhouse.
And I appreciate that.
No, and I mean that. Listen, one thing is I don't say what I don't mean, right? So I don't need to blow smoke up anybody's ass. I've done that for most of that. No, I don't want to do that. I'm kind of done with that, right? So I went, yeah, no, we have to have some mutual overlap. Let me try to help promote, because I mean, does anybody really know who the fuck you are and what your background is, what you've done? I mean,
you're absolutely
right.
So
that was the point. Hey, like, this is great. I love what you're doing. I love your message. Your messages are similar to my messages, but people get to see the houses right? They don't necessarily just get to see the thought processes, right? And your thought process, and as we're talking, I learned quite a bit about. We've done kind of the same readings and some similar mentalities.
Growth stuff,
growth stuff, right? So I mean, does anybody understand that you worked for the company that works in the highest level of performance? You are surrounded by the highest top performers in the world. There's nobody above what we do.
Absolutely right.
11,000 horsepower, top fuel, 100% market share. There's no room for error. There's nothing above us, and we never stop developing, right? All you did was take it and bring it somewhere else, which I love, right? And one day I'll maybe do that, or we are doing that in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Diversification is always key,
it's
right?
a part of continual.
It's one of the reasons
right?
I'm here in Philly is diversification. But yeah, Rob Bonafonte is a great friend of mine. We got together. We got to get these companies together. He was at the highest level in his genre and his art. Because Rob Bonafonte is an artist.
Absolutely.
He is one of the most brilliant artists I've ever met. He comes off one way, but as a human being, he is the sweetest, smartest, very talented man. And maybe I'm less, but in my genre, in my discipline, which was torque converters, I was beating his ass and it was pissing him off. So he's like, I got to get into this part. We were talking about diversifying. How long do I know you?
It's got to be 8 years,
No,
10
way more
years.
than that. Listen to me.
12 years? Has it been 12 years?
I'm in Philly 3.5.
I'm terrible with timelines.
Yeah, that's all right. I had sold off the one portion of the company 3 years prior to that, so that's 6. So I'm probably 10 to 12 years that I've been working with Rob.
Okay,
and that's where I met you.
Yeah,
and,
you're right. It's a long time.
Sure, it is. And it's nice to see the progress, and there is progress.
Thank you. I appreciate
and through
that.
the most difficult times.
Oh,
I mean, we did our deal in January of 2020. In March, the plague hit and shut it all down. Which, by the way, I think through adversity, right? You build strength and you forge relationships and you forge strength in difficult times. So COVID may have been the best thing that ever happened to us as a group, as a team, because it really forged how strong we were going to be. And right now we're very strong. So Rob and I got together and we put companies together, and we're doing more of that now. The intent is to grow to something. I'll leave that alone for right now, but we are on the right track. So yeah, I mean, I know you that long.
I love that, man. And like, until you just brought that up, that the fact that, that is performing at the highest fucking level that exists, right? In the racing. And for perspective, right? I just realized I took my family, I took my kids to Maple Grove to the NHRA race last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. And I realized that I hadn't been to an NHRA race in like a decade, man. It's probably been like 8 years. And just explaining to my kids and how everything works, it's somebody that's never been to a race. You can't even really explain it. You can't verbalize it. Like, you can't watch it on TV. It's not the same. You can't wrap your fucking mind around the power that these things create,
That's right.
And then to be able to build parts and engineer solutions for these guys that, like you said, what are they, 11,000 horse now?
Yeah,
and
it is
ridiculous.
It is the highest level of performance for our discipline of drag racing, right? There's nothing above that. I don't know that there's anything necessarily above that in automotive racing. I mean, you got F1 and this is not all we do. Yep. It's a component of what we do, right? Yep. So and it's funny because Rob and I get a little older, and as we move down the path, I keep pushing on him like diversification, right? I want to do an ethical enterprise. Well, what's an ethical enterprise? Well, I go, drag racing is a good enterprise and it's fed our family. But what's an ethical enterprise? Something that's serving the public. Rob has so many unique relationships and experiences. He just was invited to a surgery at CHOP to develop some tools. His son had had surgery. Rob became friendly with the doctor. People come to us. So everybody said, what do you do for a living? So if somebody says to me, what do you do for a living? Well, I've changed that position. Well, first thing we do for a living is we win. We're in professional motorsports, right? My job is to win. Now, what's cool is I don't have to worry about me winning. My customers win.
Right.
So I'm hedging my bets.
But that is you winning. Yeah. Yeah.
But really, what do? We solve problems. And
Absolutely
that,
right.
And that was
As
one
a
of the
business owner as a whole. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So what are we good at? We're solving problems in a way that most people in our industry don't. So Rob and I, neither of us are engineers. We're not, technically educated engineers, but that's what makes us who we are. Because most of the world, they live in a box. So if you have a problem, they work on math that they understand. We have no box.
Right.
We solve problems. We go, oh, that's what's supposed to be? Yeah, we understand that.
Yep.
What can we do?
I've heard Elon talk a lot about that. It's one of his biggest issues that he has with a lot of engineers is they're so fixed in the way that they were trained to think. And when you don't have that, you're
there
kind
are
of
no
limitless.
limitations.
That's it.
We're like, well, that can't be done. Well, they also wrote, we talk about books back and forth. There's a book that's written about the most successful people in the world. And they all have commonalities. They all have traits. And the most common trait of the most successful people in the world is they're defiant. Defiant. And defiant doesn't need to be negative, but it's, well, we need to do it this way, but why?
Yeah.
Why can't we do it this way? Not accepting.
Can't and won't accept it.
The worst thing you can do to me, is to tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Shut right down. If you say, hey, you might want to think about it. Yeah, I'll think about it. But tell me what to do.
That's funny. I'm the same way. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's about the worst thing you can do because you're like, oh, it's supposed to be this way. No, hold on a second. That's how you think it's supposed to be. But I'd like to form my own opinion.
Yep.
Right? So when you come, and I'm going to keep tying what you're doing and why I love to come down here and put the message so we can share your message. You go, oh, this is, your main thing is how it's described as real estate or house flipping or revamping.
Yep.
Well, people did it before, but you came from a background. You were groomed to think differently.
Yeah.
Right? And not only were you groomed that way, when you got that little bug, you kept pushing on it. Right?
Absolutely.
And
it is a bug. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sickness, bro.
It is. It is.
I'm as sick as a dog because everybody's, oh, you have to do this. You can be in a room of people that don't know you, that doesn't know anything about you, that they don't know what you do, they don't know who you are. A room of strangers, somebody says something, I got to bite my tongue because I go, I don't know that I do it that way. Because that's just, it's, as we said, it's my number one asset and my number one liability, right?
Yeah.
That's my superpower.
Yeah. No, it is a mindset though. It's that being able to be at the highest level in everything that you do. So you mentioned it's like, okay, well, we have other things that we do in the company. We have other product lines. We have other things. Right. But that mindset transfers across to everything. It's if we are going to go into this realm, we're going to be the fucking best. We're going to be the best.
Listen, I'm genetically predisposed to do that. I used to think when I was a kid, as if I'm not a kid now, that I was chill and relaxed and laid back and not competitive. And then I guess I realized probably about 10, 15 years ago, like, oh my God, you're so competitive, right? I always wanted to be the best at what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Now, there was no measurable way. So if you're a bartender or you're a contractor or you're a bus driver or whatever it is that you do, there's no measurable way. There's no quantifiable method to say you're the best at what you do. You can have opinions, people can have feelings, but that never worked for me. So when I was remanufacturing torque converters on a very large scale, I mean, we did 27,000. I think in my career, I remanufactured over 1 million torque converters. We did the math one day. And there was no way to prove that I was the best at that. It didn't turn me on. I never, ever wanted to get into racing. Never wanted to get into racing. I just wanted to make people happy. That's a problem. So, and then when I started to get into racing, I realized, oh, wow, there's a method. There's a quantifiable way to say I'm the best. And fuck, I went down that road. Like I chased that shit down like a total crackhead. And arguably we can say that I was successful in that time, at that period, in that genre. My product, anybody else's product, we beat their ass. We were the best in the world. We had every record. We had every milestone for a good period of time. And things changed, like the only The only thing like this was part of your podcast, and my statement is different. The only constant in life is change.
Absolutely.
So
it's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And so that's why I said to you this morning, like, hey,
And
What work-
success, you know, it doesn't
Success
last.
is fleeting.
Doesn't
Success
last.
is dynamic. Listen.
You can be the best today.
Describe success.
And, yeah.
My success is dynamic and fleeting. It moves.
Yep.
And what I thought success was in my 20s and 30s and 40s is not how I view success now. And I learned, as we talked about before, I've never been driven by money. I've always been driven by success. Well, what the fuck is success? Mm-hmm. At each stage of my life, success was different.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to raise a family. That was the most important thing to me. That was where I was going to gain my success. I wanted to support my family. I wanted to support the people that I worked with. I wanted to be the best in my industry. I wanted to be the best in racing. Well, shit. I should have wanted to be the most profitable. I did not do that. So I was never driven by money. I mean, now it's a little different.
And that's easier to track too, by the way.
Oh,
you know,
it's a different skill
super
set.
quantifiable
Right.
too. You know,
right.
it's
simple. You know, it's a different skill set. It's a different mindset. It's different action steps.
Yep.
I mean, I said I failed more times than I've not failed. I've been wrong. I nearly put us under in the 15, 18 years ago because I wanted to develop billet stators and nobody had done them, and I didn't care. And I did it until I did it wrong a lot, but I did it right enough, right? And I got there. Right?
So what was that like when you were going through that? If it was like a really challenging time, what did that mean in terms of like the business and everything?
I think I'm probably like a lot of guys that just shut it all down and just
Laser focus.
like, well, yeah, all right, well, whatever. So we talk about superpower, right? Mm-hmm. If I have a superpower, which I don't, it's understanding indicators and trajectory. So in racing and in business, and maybe I should have done something different, who knows? In life, you could look at an indicator and go, oh, this means this here, it means it there, it means it there. And understanding small changes on where things would go. Trajectory is everything. And you mentioned that a little bit. You didn't use the same words. You're like, hey, trends, and how does this affect down the road? Yep. Well, that's what I did with business. That's what I did with racing. I looked at the indicators and said, okay, what does this mean? What will it mean a year from now? What will it mean 3 years from now? What will it mean for 5 years? So that was business, right? And in racing, if I manipulated this blade, what does it mean here in the run? What does it mean there in the run? What does it mean at the end of the run? How can I get to? So I did, to go along with that, no decisions without data.
Okay.
So my whole life.
So it meant physical testing and everything as well. Yeah.
And everything is a threshold test. And understanding what the significance of an indicator is how you figure out where it's going. For me, that's what worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look, we talked about the internet, right?
Yep.
And you talked about algorithms, which I fucking love. The current algorithm is some bullshit,
Yeah.
right? Like,
In what way?
what they're
What do you
doing
mean?
to us is just horrible.
Is
It's
it though?
not natural.
So I'd
organic.
love to hear your perspective
it's not
on that.
natural
Why?
and organic. It's forced and it's horrible. They're shoving it down my throat. They could fuck off. I hate it.
In what way? What do you mean? Like, you mean what
If
you
I say
see?
something, it's on my phone.
Is that a bad thing?
Yes.
Is it? Why?
Don't give me what I don't want, and don't decide what I want.
But that is a reflection of showing you what you want,
somebody-
right? Now, there's the invasion of
good.
privacy thing
No,
and
it's
everything.
control.
Is
It's-
it though?
Oh, fuck yeah. I do not want to be controlled.
Is
at
it
all,
not
any
though
show.
just giving you more of what you already want? If it's
I'm
something
not
that you're
saying I
already
don't like some of
talking
it.
about?
I'm not saying I don't like some of it. I don't know that it's natural and organic. So I tell you,
It's definitely not natural and organic.
I'm like
I
a little
agree.
nature
Yeah.
freak, right? I'm like a closet hippie, right? I want things to be natural and organic. We're animals, right? I want to be an animal. I don't want to be forced. So some of the algorithms we talk about, like you said, I don't know about social media algorithm. Yeah, I mean it's now that's in life, but in business, damn right I want to control it. Damn right I want to control my path, my destiny on how I do it. So learning about it and moving it around to
suit your best. Yeah, absolutely.
So indicators trajectory. In 1996, I spoke at a seminar. I think it was 28 years old. and I was spoke to the largest manufacturer of parts in my industry, and I spoke on this little thing called the internet in 1996. And at that time, I owned torquemotor.com, I owned stallspeed.com. I was in it to win it. I have all these, internet domains. And
I bet you could buy a domain pretty cheap then too, eh?
and I was in it to win it. And at that point in the room, I go, can I get a raise of hands of how many people have the internet? Only 20 to 30% of them, the room had it. Now everybody's got it in their pocket. You could buy, I was the first one to have an online ordering for torque motors. Nobody trusted to buy anything online. I was so, in that case, I feel like I was so ahead of the curve. Did it get me anywhere? Not necessarily. But being ahead of the curve, looking at the trends, and
that's
so
part of it.
business,
you have to be out there in front. You have to be trying new things. You have to be testing stuff, right? All the time.
But you also can't rest on your laurels. You can't say, well, I did this, 30 years ago. Well, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Not at all.
You said that in your podcast too. Nobody cares.
Yep.
That's something that Rob and I go back and forth. Oh yeah, well nobody cares.
Not at all.
Not what you did yesterday. What are you doing for me right now?
Yep.
And our society has changed. It's so, there is no such thing as delayed gratification anymore.
And that's a problem. I think that's going to increasingly be a problem with society.
Sure.
As time progresses and everything,
But understanding it as you're doing business, right, is most important, right? And you talk about communication and relationships, which again, those are if I've spoke in the last 30 years or whatever, how long I've been speaking, relationships always been my key thing, right? So those relationships, but you have to change how you manage those relationships because everybody wants now.
For sure.
And nobody cares. So you have to keep moving it around.
And how do you do that?
Fucking I know. This conversation.
Yeah.
Right, conversation. What worked for me yesterday probably doesn't work for me today. Most certainly will not work for me tomorrow. So being progressive and staying on top of things as much as you can.
Yeah.
Everything is changing. Everything is dynamic.
And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to accept. I think you were talking before we started about an episode that I did. I was talking with a guy about, how you can do something for a certain period of time and it works perfectly. Like you're at the top of your level and it's like everything I'm doing, I know that if I do A, B, C, D, this is going to be the result. And when everything changes, that's frustrating as hell. It doesn't make sense. Like you're emotional about it because you're like, I have the statistics to show that this is what happens when I do this. But it changed. Things aren't the same anymore, and you have to be okay with that too. And it's hard.
I always talk about static and dynamic, right? So static, you move one thing, right? Dynamic, you move the whole table. Everything moves, right? So if you're not paying attention to the dynamics, if you just say, "Oh, I can do this, and it's going to do that," okay, but are you watching everything else that goes along with it? So I know that you're very attuned to that. It's very important. So you keep changing. You keep maneuvering to suit your business best. Yep. And I know this because of some conversations, and some of them really maybe through Rob conversations about you, right? Yep. Maybe not direct conversations. And you and I should have more direct conversations. That's never going to change, bro.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I look good for 80, but 80 years old.
80.
I've lived a couple of lives, but at this stage of the game, I'm not young by any stretch, but I'm not old by any stretch either. But I recognize there's no deviating from continually developing. And we talked about, Kaizen, which is, continual improvement. And I've always worked on that. But there's no, you get to the place and take a nap.
Right.
It's not going to happen. Yep. I'm not going to stop. I'm coming to terms with that now. Because at some point I was ahead of the curve on the technology side of what I did. And then I realized recently, man, I'm a little bit behind the curve. Well, that lasted about half a second, right? So I jumped right back up. And if you look at what we're doing with the new website, and I've been working on this project, which people love, which is basically I did a brain dump. It took a long time to do it. I did a brain dump, and I did an online torque converter selection guide.
Okay.
So the biggest for me, my industry, you want to serve. We talk about savage serving, right? Like I want to serve. I'm built to serve, right? Yep. And I'll get you the link. That guy's awesome. you have to look at what the needs of your customers are. And I know that from your podcast, I know that you're doing that. You're looking at what does a customer need, right?
Yep.
I believe in customer-centric sales. So you and I disagree in some ways. You're like, I'm a salesman. Man, I don't want to be a salesman. I'm not a salesman. What I am is a customer service person.
Yep.
Does customer service sell? Damn right it does.
For sure.
Right? So everybody, you can take a different position on that. My position is, I'm not a salesman. But to get back to what I was saying, which was,
Come on, Joe.
I got lost.
ADHD. We can talk about that. We can jump over to that.
Squirrel.
No, but you were saying about technology and everything, and how your website, you built toward converter selection.
So we did this toward converter selection guide, and the biggest problem for my industry on the retail side is people don't know what to order. They don't know how to order it. They think it's black magic, and it's really not black magic. For me, it's simple.
And it's quantifiable.
And it's quantifiable, right? Now, there can be variables and variances, but they're going to fall into a grouping, right? Yep. So I approached it completely different. I didn't go by, hey, what's the stall speed? Like, hey, what's the power level, right? We need to match the parts with the power level. And then from that, we can match where you want to be in that power level. So it's an online calculator. It gets you to the place the quickest. So inside of 30 to 45 seconds, I can get you into the product line. If you talk to anybody in the industry, you're like, no, there's like, you got to go back and forth. And no. What power level, what trans, what's the power adder? And then we can get you into a product line, right? And that product line, there may be some variables and there may be a discussion after, but at least you know where you're going.
Right.
And the guys who have seen it in the industry are like, oh my God, I love this. And we sort of soft released it at the end of last year. The website is coming along. It's not finished. It's real close. I went, oh yeah, I'm behind the curve? Yeah, no. I'm going to get ahead of the curve right now. And that's been fun because that's what drives me. All right, you want to talk about ADHD because we're bopping around about it? Damn right. I can do things, what do you say? It's a superpower.
It is a superpower.
It is a superpower. But it's also, it's what's good about me, it's what's bad about me. I'm really good at starting shit. I'm really bad at finishing shit.
You're speaking to my soul, brother. Right. Speaking of my soul.
If I have a single thing I'd love to fix, that I struggle with completing things. Yeah. I'll get it to 90%, and some little wacky thing in my brain makes me go, I'm going to do this. Right? And
so with that, jumping back to the site that you're talking about with the tool that you built and everything, because I did use it and it's freaking awesome.
Oh, did you really?
What is left to be done on that? Because I think that's a done, finished, polished product.
Oh, dude, that's like stage 2 out of 5. Bro.
Ooh. Yeah. Is it going to get to 5?
Did I just talk about my completion problem?
That's why I ask.
I think it'll get to 4.
Okay.
I think when we talk about business, right, you go through ebbs and flows of life, right?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, ebbs and flows also have to do with money, and ultimately we're in business for money, right? Yep. I've made a lot of really cool shit, and I've made some money. But the goal is when you incorporate, you have one goal, and it's to make money. So, is that the primary concern? No, the primary concern is to have a sustainable entity that generates revenue for generations. I remember when we did the LS flex plate, and I told Rob, I go, yo, dude, he goes, you really think we should make this? I go, your grandkids will be selling this thing, right? All right. How many LS flex plates we sell? A lot. How many will we sell? A lot. Looking at the future, I'm always about emerging markets. What I've been good at is looking at the future and emerging markets. What I have not been as good at is capitalizing on the existing markets. But I don't want to compete with anybody. I just want to create my own market. So that's good and bad.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing, ADHD, right? But I will tell you, and if you want to talk about ADHD, which I don't have anything of the sort. I will never.
No.
Let me tell you something. One thing I hate to be tagged with anything. Don't tell me I am this. Don't tell me.
Yeah.
I am what I want to be at that moment. So no, I do not have ADHD.
Fair.
I have something that could
very closely resemble
I might
it.
I might identify as somebody who has those tendencies. But I've done a lot of heavy lifting and research on it. And I learned that I manage my behaviors non-pharmaceutically wonderfully most of my life. Sports, I did it through business. It's dopamine distribution.
Absolutely.
It's, what's the next hit?
Yep.
Right. So I did it through business. You might call it sales. I called it customer service. Sales are the greatest dopamine ever.
Absolutely.
And if you provide a good product and a service, savage servant. I'm built to serve. I don't want to sell commodity shit. I want to sell something that's gonna make people happy.
Absolutely. And that you can be proud of as well. And if you can be
yeah.
at the upper echelon, if you can be the best at what you do.
But I'm talking like, 40 years ago, that's what I was about, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to offer the best product in a way that the customers were going to be happy. I'm a people pleaser, right? So every day you win. Every day you win. Every day you win. Every day you win. I did it through powerlifting for years. Every day I'm bigger. Every day I'm stronger. Every day I hit but the problem with that, what happens when you don't, right? So, and I'm going to, if I can,
You're good. Yeah, I think.
So, the problem with that is, you do these things and you go, all right, well, you start tearing shit. So, toward the distal bicep, ACL, ACL replacement. I played rugby in my 30s. But I always, for me, like we talked about in the morning, I have to do that because why? Because that's my dopamine. That's what, that can either set you in the right or wrong direction. So in some of the research I've done, a lot of the people that go the wrong path, right, and they do things they shouldn't be doing. Well, they didn't know how to manage the dopamine distribution, so they just found ways to satisfy themselves. I found positive ways.
Yeah.
Right. I still find positive ways. I'm 5 to 6 days a week at the gym. Right. That starts my day. The rest of the day is bullshit if I get that done. Right. In business and what you do, you can get that same thing. Right. Problem is what happens when you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
What happens?
Sometimes you'll fall into a place where you can't get out. For me, I've not gotten there, but I've gotten awfully close. And then there's this traditional successful businessman syndrome, which is you get there, you think that's it, and it's not.
Yeah.
So what do? You fail. And then you got to start all over again. Everybody loves a comeback story.
Yeah.
I got to be on my 4th comeback story. Right?
I get it.
Right? I'd like to maybe stay here and maybe not so many. And that's what I said to you, like, hey, one of the problems, one of the pitfalls that we run into is, and you're, maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't, I don't know. I was always the face of the business, face of the industry, face of, man, you get older, man, I don't want to do that anymore. For me, I want to be more reserved, more in the background. I want to be the wizard behind the curtain, not necessarily the ShamWow guy, right? And I hate to say it, bro, for so many years I was the ShamWow. That was it.
ShamWow, yeah.
I had somebody call me, and I'm like, oh man, that's not who I am, man. But if you're out there and you're singing your song, and man, if there's a message to be had for you, if I could do something for you, some people will look at you and they're like, he's full of shit. Those people can go fuck off. You know why? Because and Rob would say this to me. Man, you have childlike enthusiasm. Fuck yeah, I do. I want to be 90 and have that same child. And if you don't believe me, if you think that's unpure, right? Well, you can fuck off because that's who I am.
That's who I am.
Right?
Yep.
So, but those who don't, those detractors, those haters, first of all, they're still watching.
Totally.
Second of all, they don't understand it, so they can fuck off. Right? I don't need anybody to understand me. I don't even need you to like me, right? And I may not be your cup of tea. Some people like spicy food, some people like mild food. I'm spicy. I'm not for everybody, right? Those things, as you do what you do, because I'll be straight up. I think one of the main reasons I came here, I go, fuck, what you're doing is way bigger than real estate. What you're doing is a solid fucking message. Those messages need to be heard. Man, how much garbage is out on the interweb?
So much.
There's so much junk.
And there's so much bullshit too. And we talked a little bit about that, about, social media and not really seeing the real of what's going on in people's lives. And people like to put on these fucking masks and everything. And, it happens so much in business, especially in the real estate industry, right? It's like the mentoring and coaching thing is a massive industry in itself,
Sure it
right?
is.
So it's like, I know some really, really good mentors and coaches, and I'm huge on it, by the way. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on mentors and masterminds over the years, and it served me really well. But I've also seen so many dudes that don't know shit about the industry, and they're coaching. They're selling a $40,000 course, and they've done like 3 deals. It's like, who the hell are you going to coach, man? Like, but they're out there, taking a picture in front of a Lambo or something that they rented for the day, and there's just so much fake shit. So how do you know what's real and what's not?
Well, I happen to know in your case what's real, and I go, oh, this is awesome, right? Because surrounded by top performers, right? You had great future in doing what you were doing. You go, yeah, this is cool, and I'm still going to help you guys, which you do, but I want to do something different. Oh man, I love that. Right? So, how old are you?
33.
You have no idea what you're going to do yet. You have no.
That's fair to say. That's fair to say.
You have as much as you think you have it all laid out, and this is the thing with me, man. I always thought I had it all laid out, I had it all planned, and everything I did worked. And then at some point it doesn't. You go, all right, I'm going to do something different. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Still, I mean, at my age, at 80, I still don't know where I'm going. And I know now, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Because I've done stuff in the last several years. There's no way I thought I would ever do. I mean, I've relocated completely. I've done things like, okay, yeah, I can do that. So you don't know what you can do.
Yeah.
And I'll go on a record and say, this is not your last stop, because as a high performer, as a top performer, as knowing who you are, this is a stop on the path. And if you keep putting out that kind of message, I said this morning, you put those kind of messages out, and you look at what's out there right now, you need one person to understand how good you are, and you're off in another direction. Yeah. And that I believe. I mean,
I appreciate that.
And that's why I'm here.
Appreciate that.
You are a unique individual. Now, by the way, do you understand that? Screw these things. Do you understand this is also key? Do you understand that you're special as a human being?
I understand that everybody is. I understand that you are as well.
I fought that most of my career. Most of my life. No, forget career. I fought. I didn't understand. Why is it I saw things that other people didn't see? So when I would develop products, I would, everybody should know this. I didn't understand that.
Okay.
So my thought process is special, right? Different. I didn't understand that. I didn't accept it. I still didn't. For a long time, a good friend of mine was like, dude, there's something special about you. I'm like, dude, there's nothing special about me. I didn't understand that. And to them, I was, and to me, no. I've come to terms with people perceive me that way. And if I don't start to perceive my way, you can't have, I fight with Rob about this all the time. You cannot have self-deprecating behaviors.
Fair.
You cannot have self-deprecating words. Well, I'm not it's okay to be humble, but not negative, right? That's a unique cat. Yeah. I'm a unique cat. You're a unique cat. Embrace your uniqueness, right? Understand that you're different and let's figure out how to monetize.
And that's more serving. Yeah.
So
it's better.
When I see you doing these, I go, oh, I love this. This kid's special, right? And at 33, I can call you a kid because I have children older than you.
That's fair. That's fair. So. No, I love that, man. I love that. So what do you think for you right now? What do you think is next for you? Because you've been on this journey, man. You've been on this journey for a long time. I know you keep joking saying you're 80, but you've been around. You've done some things. You've experienced success. You've been at the highest level of success.
On every level.
And you've failed a lot, but that's made you who you are. So it's probably safe to say that you, as a human being, are better now than you've ever been.
Man, I have to tell you, I might argue that.
Yeah?
But to answer your question first, what am I going to do? I'm going to keep failing.
I love that.
Right? But I'm going to die trying. So I am in a growth personally, not necessarily business, but personally, I'm in a growth moment where I'm reevaluating and growing again, and I'm doing some research and some reading. I'll give you, I don't know if you're aware of this. I love this. I did this little thing with the person I work with called Blinkist, and we would go back and forth. Blinkist is the Cliff Notes to audiobooks.
Okay.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is everything in a book boiled down to the simplest. It's anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
So instead of 6 hours of an audiobook or 10 hours or 12 hours, you're getting it in a half hour.
And is this still in audio form?
Oh, it's audio form.
Yeah. That's
So
sweet.
I go do my workout, right? I go do, 4 to 6 miles, 3 to 5 times a week, and I listen to Blinkist.
Okay.
And I did some ADHD listening. I did some self-improvement. I did some relationships. I did some sales. I did some technology. I did some finance. I think in 2.5 months, I had like 60 books down.
Holy crap. Yeah, that's a lot, man. That's a lot.
Yeah. Laura did like 150 in the same time.
Wow.
So I highly recommend that for you.
That's
right?
wild.
Blinkist. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like growing up, and I'd love to ask you about that too. Like having ADHD, non-diagnosed, and not really accepting it, but as a kid, and how that served you or didn't. But I know for me, like I was a terrible fucking student. I was good in school when I was like up until like 3rd or 4th grade. Then I was just uninterested. Right?
I was an asshole.
Yeah, I was a total asshole. I didn't go to school.
Listen to me. I was the sweetest asshole. So to answer that question, my mom, she managed me. So I think back in the day, ADHD was underdiagnosed. And this should not be the ADHD show because I don't have any of that shit. Underdiagnosed. Today it's overdiagnosed. But my mom handled me so well. She let me be me. And so I was that kid that'd be like, I get the progress report and I go, Mom, you're not going to believe that stuff, right? I go, how could I possibly be a pleasure to have in class and disruptive in class? That teacher is either stupid or she's checking it off wrong. Like, I mean, you call her up if you want, but then she says, not working up to ability, but understands the material.
But understands, yeah.
So which is it? So I'd get 90s on the tests, and I didn't like to carry books because I was cool.
Yep.
And I get 60s and 70s. And in the state test, I'd be in the top couple of percent. And everybody was so frustrated with me. And I was like, I'm frustrated with you because you're all dumb. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
If I pass the test, why do I need to do what you want me to do? So
funny, man. But I was the same way.
I was never, so as you talk about defiant, I was defiant, but never combative. Everybody loved me because I was a people pleaser.
Yep.
I just didn't want to do what they told me to do. Mm-hmm. I still don't want to do what people tell me to do. I want to do what I want to do, as long as it's not hurting anybody else, and, and as long as I'm helping somebody.
Yep.
Right? So how did I do in school? I did okay. I passed. If I would have missed one more, but the truth is, if I would have missed one more class, I was not graduating. And
that's what happened to me. My senior year, man. I skipped enough school. I was the first one that they threw out. It was right after like the Christmas break or whatever. And they didn't publicly release, like, if you miss X number of days, I don't know how many I missed. Let's say it was 20 days. They didn't say that on day number 21, like, you're getting expelled. I was the first one that they threw out as a result of that. And it was like, crap, wish that didn't happen. But I'm not going back next year. So I went right into starting to work,
Yeah. And then my mom, God bless her. I mean, I was working at the time I was 12. I mean, I was in the shop with my dad. I was 7 years old, but I started working full time. I used to take the train to go back and forth to work at 12. You would not do that today, right? I was delivering parts in Harlem in the 80s. I was 12 years old, 133rd Street and Amsterdam Avenue. Dude, you couldn't get out of the car, bro. Like that's. I mean, I've been working since I'm that young, and my mom wanted me to do something different. My dad wanted me to do something different, and I just want to do whatever I wanted to do. So my mom, so you go take a college course. Yeah, Mom, fine. It was machining 101. So I get there and they're teaching me how to grind a tool bit. I lasted 2 classes. I go, Mom, I did that at 8. I am not going to this class. You can forget this, right? And and to the point of education, and both of I have a bunch of kids. My 2 oldest kids are in the city. My daughter works in Manhattan for Google. My son works in Manhattan for NYU Law School. And then I have 3 younger ones, 21, 19, and 15. There were moments in my life where I thought, oh, I really should have went to school, right? But then there are moments in my life that I go, that would have just slowed my ass down, right? And what was that going to get me? So I'm on the fence still. I mean, if you can go for traditional education, I believe that there's the place for it, and I wanted my kids to do that. I don't know how I would do in traditional education based off of how I did as a child.
Yeah.
But as an adult, understanding the value, I might have taken it a little more serious. It didn't provide what I needed, which was dopamine.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being that. By the way, I'm being very forthcoming. Right. I say dopamine as it's a drug because technically it is.
Absolutely, it is.
And a concept, because, and this is something that Rob and I go back and forth in, is, I call you and say, hey, I love what you're doing. Let me see what we can do. And I give you my energy, but I'm also giving you my vulnerability, right? Now, some people believe that vulnerability is a weakness.
Yep.
And I am not of that mindset. If I'm giving you my vulnerability, it's because I am strong.
Yep.
If I'm giving you my vulnerability, it's because you've earned the opportunity to gain my vulnerability, right? Yep. That is a strength, not a weakness.
And then taking that one step further, though, like sharing a vulnerability in a platform like this is like next level. It's like you just said that you're willing to share your vulnerability with people that have earned your trust, that you know and like. But doing it like this seems like a super scary thing to a lot of people. But no, it's just taking that same thing. And if I'm willing to share this, for one, it means I'm cognizant of it, which means I can improve on it.
Self-aware.
And yeah, I'm self-aware. Right. And I don't give a fuck what somebody else thinks.
Pretty much. Right. But I think
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. But I think people think sometimes, and this is just my thought, that because you're outgoing or gregarious or serving, that you're fake. No, this is who you are.
Yeah, this is who I am,
So,
dude.
yeah, I have no problem serving everyone with that information because it's a concept. And actually that's what I loved about what you're doing. I thought, yeah, all right, he's got the revamp business, which is awesome. But your concepts, the concepts that you're discussing in the podcast that you're doing are much larger concepts, right? These are life concepts, not necessarily just business concepts. Now, they apply to business.
Yep.
And by the way, they apply to all businesses. So as far as I'm concerned, your venue should change a touch and go, hey,
appreciate that.
I'm doing this because I have a real estate business, but these concepts work everywhere. And by the way, they work in life.
It's very true.
Right. So that's critical. So yeah, when I say to you, I'm telling you about, how I was in young and how I am now and, my vulnerabilities, it's because I have strength.
Right.
Right. It's not a weakness. And that's a concept that people need to understand because, in fact, hold please.
Hold please.
I listened to a Blankets yesterday, which I loved. I don't remember which one it was, but I do have something that I actually screenshot because I was like, oh, I like that. Bear with me.
Definitely gonna have to check that out. And it's funny
Let's
because
move
like
away
growing up, man, like I didn't read a single book until I was probably like until I had my daughter. That's when I started my self-improvement journey.
Dude,
you
I
know?
never read in high school. I had all the
Never.
I either got the Cliff Notes or I had somebody tell me the story and I wrote the essay.
Yep.
I don't need to read the book. Just tell me what it's about.
Exactly right.
So let's move away from the toxic toughness that demands that we suffer in silence, repress our feelings, and push through pain. True toughness and profound resilience come from listening to your body, acknowledging your emotions, responding thoughtfully to challenges, and finding the intrinsic drive to dig deep, even in your darkest moments. I like that.
Yeah.
Right? So listen.
That's deep.
You want to talk about deep? You want to talk about strength? Strength. I'm all about it. Toughness. Toughness is being able to be vulnerable so that people understand who you are. Everything else is some bullshit facade, right?
It's a good way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what's traditionally tough?
Yep.
No. So these are different concepts. In order to progress, you've got to grow. In order to grow, you've got to be aware. These are the things that we need these are the messages that we need to put out to the world. And we can say, oh, there's a lot of junk on social media, but man, there's a lot of good shit.
There's a lot of good stuff too.
Yeah. And I'll share those with you, like, and maybe you can share some of them. There's some guys that speak that I just absolutely love. Huberman's one, Joe Rogan's one. I can't remember the guy, the Savage Servant guy I love. There's a lot of good content out there. And I actually believe that you have good content.
Thank you.
We just got to get you out there.
Just got to get out there, man. Got to get out there.
Can't have
YouTube's at 60 subs or something.
Yeah, we can't
rocking out.
We can't get you. We can't have you being the best guitarist in your basement.
No, that's no good. And it doesn't serve anybody, right? That's
exactly
it.
right.
That's
exactly
it.
Right.
What are your thoughts on like Andrew Tate? I'm sure you've seen a bunch of his content. No?
No.
No?
No.
You're an Instagram guy, man. You don't see any of that stuff?
I'm in my own bubble,
Fair.
right? So, and I'm exploring. I'm moving shit out. I've been laser focused for most of my life on what, I've had my ex-wife say, "You're like Bubble Boy." Well, whatever. You're not worried about the rest of the world. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm worried about what's in front of me,
Yep.
who's around me, and how I can serve them.
I love that.
Right? How am I? I'm not saying I'm ignorant to the rest of the world. That would be ignorant. I don't want to do that. But I'm saying that most of the time I stay very focused on
what you can control and what
I can affect. Right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, do I think there are things I could affect in a positive manner in other ways? Yes, but I'm not personally at this moment. I'm not there.
Right.
There's good stuff out there. Right. I don't know that I don't watch TV at all. Zero TV. I watch zero TV. First of all, I don't need negative influence. Right. And not saying there's not positive influence, but there's more negative than positive. And how is it going to affect my life? Is it going to affect me positively? Then sure. But if it's going to affect me negatively, no. I don't want to waste any time.
Yeah. I think we've talked about that before, and that's such a powerful thing, man. Just like controlling your own mental state. And yeah, one of the easiest ways to do that is not paying attention to the news, because yeah, sure, you may know what's going on, but there's a negative spin to almost everything, right?
And I've seen people around me just take that, and it lets them drive them in a place that they don't really need to be.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have no control over it anyways. I'll break it down to the most simple form for you. Oh, it's going to rain tomorrow. And I have no control over that.
Yeah.
I don't even worry about it.
Yep.
I just don't. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I have no control over the weather, so why would I focus on it? I may want to look at it in the morning to understand what I'm in for the day, but I don't give it a whole lot of thought. Why? Because I have no control over it. That's that.
Have you always been like that?
Well,
or did something happen
ooh, that's interesting.
To where you're like, you know what? It doesn't serve me to dwell on things that I can't affect.
That would require me to think a little harder and a little longer, and I don't know if I can answer it.
That's a super early morning question for Joe, huh?
Was I always like that about the weather?
No. I don't mean the weather. No, I know,
but the weather, that's the indicator and trajectory.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
So if the indicator is he does this now, why? Where's it going to lead him?
Yeah.
Right? And so I'd have to think about that. I mean, it's been a long time. I'll give you another example. I remember being younger in my 20s and be stressed out traveling. I got to be there. I have no control. So there were years that I traveled 27 times a year. That was more than half a year that I was 7 days a week. And those weekends I traveled for racing or business, they were not 8-hour days. They were 16-hour days. Right. Yeah. So I was putting a weekend
You're awake,
during the weekend and getting to work on Monday 6 a.m. Those were double weeks, right? I just learned no point in stressing about travel. If the plane's there, it's there. If it's not, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So that probably happened in my late 20s.
Okay.
Where I was like, all right, well, no point in getting excited over it because I can't do anything about it. So I would say sometime around there,
okay.
Late 20s, early 30s.
You can do something about it, though, because if you're not simply at the airport when the plane needs to leave, that's kind of in your control.
All right,
I've
listen,
done that. I've missed a flight.
I've also enjoyed a terrible reputation for being somewhat of a free spirit and party boy at times. So, not sure I want to make that public, but everybody knows anyways. So I missed a flight or two.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens, man. Yeah. It happens. Actually, the time that I did, what we talked about going to Tony Robbins and everything, the flight that I missed, ironic enough, me and my wife were flying out of Philly, and it was our first time, like, both leaving the kids for an extended period of time or whatever. We get to the airport early, which is unlike me, because I'm always late.
You guys both went to Anthony
Robbins?
We both went. I got a great story for you. Go ahead.
So we're sitting at the airport, got through security, actually early, on time. Everything's wonderful. We're sitting down at a bar directly across from the gate that we're flying out of. And man, it's crazy. Like, we were probably an hour before boarding. We're just sitting there having a drink, man. Not like we were getting shit-faced or anything. We may have both had 2 drinks. We missed our fucking flight. And literally, like, I look at the time and it's just like, it hit me. Like, we were just in the zone, man. Like, we were just in the moment. And I look over and realize that everybody that was sitting at the gate is now gone. So I run up, and we're only like 2 minutes away from the actual board time. And we run up to the gate, and we're like, oh, well, let us on, you know? Like now we close the door. Like, you're fucked. It is what it is. So we had to run around and see if we could get another flight. And we ended up spending like, I don't know, $2,500 for our tickets, man. It's like what we were flying out the night before, and it started the next day. Our only other alternative was
saying you
legit
can't make better
driving.
choices. I'm not saying you can't make better choices, right? Make better choices.
But make better choices. Don't get absorbed in the moment as much. Nah, man. Honestly, though, like, all bullshit aside, if I could take it back, obviously we were so in the moment that was like powerful in and of itself.
That's where I'm at right now. Like,
fuck that flight.
That's right. Fuck that flight. So you mentioned Anthony Robbins, who I love, right? I went, oh God, I don't want to tell you, I went in my 20s, right? And I remember going to Anthony Robbins, and everybody around me was like, what are you reading that stuff for? Mind your business, right? If you don't like it, good, shut up. Yep. Right? And at that point, he was doing, I think they were called infomercials.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You see him at
it
2
was
o'clock
even
in the
more
morning, right?
of like, oh, this guy's like a snake oil.
Right?
Yeah.
Man, I went, and 80% of that place was like borderline, this was a last-ditch attempt at life. And that's not how I felt. I felt like, hey, what can I do to learn to improve myself? And I really enjoyed it. And I walked on the hot coals, and I would have ate them hot coals, right? Because that's how intense I am, right? And and I went, and then a year or 2 later, I sent my wife alone. I think that that's a good experience by yourself, right? So you can be true to yourself, answer the questions that are deep inside your own voice, and not have any influence. So we can agree to disagree on that, but
I can see the power in that.
And I sent her by herself, and I'll fast forward. I went again 12 years ago, and I wanted to believe in early because I was like, wait a second, I did all this shit. It was a great way to go, hey, the stuff I learned from you and from other sources, man, I put it all into play. They say, do this, this, this. I go, yeah, I did this, I did that, I did this. Oh, shit. I actually did really well. So it was cool to just go, oh, shit, I became the best in this. I got involved in that. I did those things. I set my goals. I put all those things in action, and it served me really well. So give me something new or I'm going to kind of bust out. I'd walk on the hot coals. And he did give me some new stuff that it was concepts that I was working on also by myself. You know, animalistic behavior, the masculine, feminine side, the submissive dominance behaviors. Like this is alpha, beta behaviors, right? These are things that, but the things that he taught back in my 20s were so important to my understanding to life and dealing with people. You know, mirroring and modeling and empathetic listening. And I mean, these are things I use every day. Every day. And you talk about sales. Sales is a God-given gift. Either you got it or you don't. But to be able to find, I spent my entire,
I can debate you on that.
It's a God-given gift. And if I spent my 20s trying to fine-tune it, right? Trying to fine-tune understanding how to be the best, and I say salesman, understanding sales and marketing, understand how to communicate to people, understand how to serve people, right? Now, as much as I loved Anthony Robbins, and I did, I found Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People to be way more impactful for me as a human being, right?
Yep.
And there are other books now that I gravitate towards. And one day it's on my list to write my own book.
Ooh.
Yeah. I got to get somebody to ghostwrite.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, I got to get somebody. I started it. Gentleman's Guide to Life. A Gentleman's Guide to Life. What we miss from today's society is gentlemen, right?
Okay.
The second choice was at the time it was An Idiot's Guide to Being a Gentleman. So with that being said, my Anthony Robbins story has nothing to do with me. My Anthony Robbins story has to do with my kids. Because somewhere along the lines, I forgot that I did this. Because, you know, I'm all over the place, right? So and my kids just reminded me of this. I sent both of my kids to Anthony Robbins. And And I sent them as a Christmas gift. They were still kids. They were like, my daughter had just gotten to college. My son was still in high school. And they woke up to Christmas morning with not one gift. Not one. They opened up a card and said, I'm sending you Anthony Robbins 2 months from now. They got nothing. How many people
What
do
did
that?
they think about that in the moment?
Think about this. I mean, they're not babies, right?
Right.
They're not babies. They're not adults. They know who I am. I'm tough to deal with. I know that. And I didn't give a fuck. This was a gift I was going to give them for the rest of their life. And if you're living in today's society, surrounded by today's society, and we're going to go back probably, the truth, we're talking about 16, 17 years ago. So if you can put yourself in that time frame, right? Let's put it this way. There was no Facebook.
Right.
Right? There was no Facebook. There was MySpace, right? Or should I say Facebook just came out because I think she was
there.
She was just going into college, and she had just gotten a Facebook account. It had just started. I got one with her, right? So we can communicate. And I sent them, and the rest of the society. We live in a really nice, like, affluent area, and everybody's like, my own family looked at me like I was a nutbag. Like, how are you not going to buy these kids gifts? I go, how do you mind your damn business? I'm going to do what I want with my kids. These are my children, not yours. You do what you want with yours. I know this is the gift that I want to give them, and if they don't understand it, that's going to be their problem to manage. They're going to hate me anyway, right? So they went. They handled it really well because they're what apple trees make? Apples. So they were very cool about it. And then when they came home, I think it was February, like middle of February and I sent them to California, right?
Okay.
And they came home to a full Christmas, right? So I totally forgot about that until they just reminded me. Yeah, how about the year that Dad decided it was a good idea to send us to Tony Robbins instead of Christmas gifts? That was fun, and it was a joke, but they actually it was the best thing.
Really?
So that's probably my best Tony Robbins story because it was not normal. It was not conforming. It was not. It was a way to communicate to them. I wanted them to understand what I'm doing right now is probably the most important thing that I think I can do for you as a human being, right?
Right.
And people don't think that way.
Yeah.
They're so worried about what everybody else thinks.
Yeah. And what's normal too, right? It's
fuck
Christmas,
normal, bro.
It's
Fuck
Christmas.
normal.
There should be presents wrapped.
Christmas means gifts. Good. Let me give you the best one I can give you.
Yeah.
Let me give you the gift of knowledge and the gift of understanding something that I understand.
So important, man.
Something that your mom understood, right? And it did go off well because, however long later, they're laughing about it going, it was great. Did that make me different? Yes. Do I care? No. Fuck, I revel in that. I don't want to be the same as anybody else.
Yep.
What you're doing here is different than what most people are doing.
That's right.
Fucking enjoy it.
Yep.
Right? And keep doing it. Don't stop doing it.
Embrace it.
And for you, take it to the next level, right? So that's my Tony Robbins story.
What's the next level for me? From
you.
an outside perspective, because you have known me for a while and you know some of the things that I've done.
I don't know. To be fair, I don't know enough. And this is great. This is great. I don't cry anymore as much, but I do get goosebumps. I got goosebumps. So we talked about. I'm going to go around because this is what I always do. I go around the story to get to the point. We talked about communication, and we talked about frequency, and we talked about animalistic behavior, right? What we didn't talk about is attraction, right? Attraction is interesting. So I'm currently single. Actually, I'm dating someone, right? And the dating process is a sales cycle.
Absolutely, it is.
And you become attracted to someone for one reason or another. And attraction is not, and to be very clear, but this is a great message that I hope that can get out. Attraction is not about sexual or physical attraction. Attraction is about energy, right? So your energy, which is triangulated by mutual friends, right, is what I'm attracted to. So what's next for you is about what you're going to be attracted to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So what's going to be the magnetic pull for you to be at whatever level? So I would be remiss and say to you, oh, you're going here, even though trajectories and indicators, right? I would say to you, you might want to consider.
Right.
Which is basically what I did.
Yep.
You might want to consider this is a bigger concept and you should move that along. Right.
Yep.
But where do I think you're going? Fuck.
Well,
I don't know.
it's the $1 million question because, like you said, you don't know where you're going.
I can answer it. You're going to go where you want to go.
That's right.
How simple is that? That's the simplest
right.
answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and
what's the next
wherever you end up, you know that you're going to do everything you can to be able to perform at the highest level, to be able to serve at the highest level, to be able to give back to the industry, to your customers or whoever at the highest level, because it's who you are.
That's right.
It's how you're built.
Right. And one thing I won't do anymore. This is great. This is fucking awesome. This was a gift given to me. One thing I will no longer do is I will no longer dumb myself down.
What do you mean by that?
I will no longer let me choose my words correctly. I will no longer suppress who I am as a being, right? So if my level on a thought process is here, I'm not going to bring it down just to be with everybody else, right? So I'm going to I want to be attracted to people who have certain energies and frequencies that allow me to not have to dumb my shit down anymore, right?
Okay.
So I feel like I had to bring my volume down for everyone my entire life.
Why? Why do you feel that way?
Because they can't they don't know how to manage that level of energy, right? You've heard people say, "Oh, he's too much." Well, if I'm too much, bro, I'm not for you, right?
Got it.
Am I too much? Maybe for some. Am I too much for me? No, I fucking love it. That childlike enthusiasm. Hey, if that's not for you, that's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't ever want to meter myself. Now, I say that, but the truth of the matter is, most of the time I'm metering myself.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
But to what degree, as long as it's not, and these are bigger concepts that need to be vetted out a little bit.
I get it.
Longer.
No, I get it. I get it.
You know, am I being true to who I am?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to have that internal conflict.
Right. Now, can I be true to? Can I put true to who I am on hold for a minute, for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours with these people for a couple of days? Sure, I can.
Yeah.
But in general, no, I have to be true to who I am. But
I get that.
And that's fleeting. Who you are today may not be who you are tomorrow. So
yeah,
you've got to be true to yourself at all times, but you also have to be self-aware and be cognizant of the fact that you've got to change. And what does that look like? So, yeah, I mean, again, these are not necessarily drag racing concepts.
I get it.
Right?
I get
these
it.
are more, human being, people living concepts, right?
Yeah.
So I won't dumb my shit down. Listen, I got to find out. It's funny because nobody's asked me what I meant by that. But you know what I mean by it.
I do. I do know what you mean by it.
Right.
I do know
So let me ask you, because I haven't vetted out how to communicate that more simply. What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to me to not dumb yourself down for other people? I mean, I would just take it as, I think you verbalize it really well. It's, I don't want to feel like I'm not being true to myself just to make other people happy.
Thank you.
Just to make other people
You're exactly
happy.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally understand that. And it sucks when you do have to feel that way in any way, shape, or form. Like, I've felt it plenty of times, talk about energy and frequency and everything. There's nothing that sucks more than, especially when you're super fired up about something, or you're telling a story or something that really resonates with you and you're sharing that with somebody and they kind of just like shut that shit down. It's like, ooh, fuck. You know, like, I was super excited about this.
I get a little older and I go, I don't give a fuck. And I've got enough experience to know, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because I've done shit that nobody believed can be done.
I get that, but
So I care about it less today.
I get that. Like, it doesn't offend me in any way. But when I see somebody that you can feel that energy on them about whatever it is that they're talking about, dude, I don't give a shit what it is. Like, I'm fucking absorbed now. Like, I'm in. You can be talking about how you make pillows or whatever. And like, I'm interested because I can feel your energy about it, you know?
That's right.
And yeah, I think that's a really crazy thing that not a lot of people do think about is the energy and, you know.
But it's real.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we all talk about attraction, you know, male, female, whatever. I don't want to be your gender thing is.
Oh, don't get us canceled, Joe.
Well, wait, are we on like national television? Can we get canceled in our own shit? Yeah, and that's fine. And I definitely, I'm apolitical. I don't really want to talk politics, but or those things of those nature. But attraction is not always sexual, right? Attraction is also, and I've been talking to a friend about this. Like, oh man, you know, I'd love to hang out with you. I'm attracted to you in the way I want to hang out with you. I want to spend time with you. No, not in the traditional sense, right? And those things that's how you become friends with people, right?
Yeah.
That's how, you know, there's a certain level of attraction. What is that attraction, right? And I want to keep going down those paths.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob and I, every day he comes in and kisses me on the top of my head, right? Every day I give him a big hug. That is not anything but pure love and pure energy that we exchange as fucking comrades, as men, and I think people, they're not getting enough of that in life. They're suppressing their own shit.
Absolutely.
And me, I ain't doing that anymore.
That in and of itself, I mean, especially, you know, today's day and age, especially like me as a kid, right? It's like everything that almost anybody did, it's like we made fun of everything as being gay, right? And it's like, I think that probably stemming from a lot of that, like a lot of guys that I know develop like insecurities because it's like, oh my God, as a kid, everything that I did got ridiculed as being gay or whatever. And it's like, dude.
Well, I don't, and I don't know that this will get anywhere and probably shouldn't, but I learned that I was an ally from the time I was a kid. I mean, I know where I am sexually, right? I'm good. Right? I know what I like, and it's not men. But my son is queer, and I've been surrounded by, you know, whatever I struggle with just the new nomenclature, right? You know, one of my most favorite uncles was gay, and you know, in the '60s, I kind of knew it. And I was '70s. I didn't have a problem with it. He was one of my favorite people. He was a wonderful human being. So I personally don't have problems. I know the society does, and again, this will never hit anything, hopefully. But that, yeah, we have stigmas that society has suppressed us.
Right.
Fuck you.
What do you think it takes to be a man? What's that mean?
Oh, wow. That's awesome. What does it take to be a man? I mean, your version of a man and my version of a man, two different things.
For sure.
Right?
Just like the definition of success, but to you, what
I'm very traditional. I'm very traditional. I'm very old school. I'm very much. I would love if I could have had 12 kids and had a woman home pregnant, doing traditional male female things. I'd go kill the animal and bring it back to the cave and let them do whatever they need to do. Yeah, I mean, I have no. I would work 4 jobs. I mean, to have my wife stay home. I'm now in a different situation. A man to me is a provider, right? A man to me is stability, right? For me, what do I want to be as a man? I want to be the best person I can be for the people around me. Savage servant. I want to serve everyone. A man, as they talk about, and what is his name? He's the controversial psychologist from Canada.
And, Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Now I haven't listened to all of it, right? But I kind of subscribe to that. Like I'm a very very relaxed, gentle being until I'm not, and I want to very much stay a gentle being. Mm-hmm. But am I aware of who I am as a animal? A man is not necessarily. I think they say a good guy is not a safe guy.
Yeah.
A good guy is a violent man who has it under control.
Absolutely.
Joe Rogan says the same thing. It's what kind of turned me on to him. Like, do you want a warrior in the garden or you want a gardener in the war?
Yeah.
Listen to me. I am a warrior in the garden, right? And I've been so blessed. I tell people this because we go out and membership has its privileges, right? So I'm small, but I'm not small, right? So I'm as wide as I am tall, right? Thank God,
fair.
Right? And I remember going out with my wife, and we'd go and the bouncers would all do this, and they're like, "Do you know them?" I'm like, "No." Why do they do that? Because they want to make sure that we're together, that we're on the same side, and cool. I'm always on that side, right? So I have never been in one bar fight in my life.
Interesting.
Right? Why? Because true strength means never having to lift your hands. So I've been so lucky that way. So what is a man? A man is a guy who is under control. A man is someone who can provide security for the people that he loves.
Yeah.
That he loves and loves him. A man, and then we can talk man versus gentleman. Gentleman is a higher level of a man. I always want to be a gentleman, right? Gentleman first and foremost, always. Right?
Okay.
In every situation, whether it be male female, whether it be male male, whether it be male child, like whatever it is, a good man is a gentleman, right? So that's my version of man. And you're talking to a guy I was a dad at 19, 5 kids, ran the family business, basically took care of everybody the best I could. And, I just, it's a very wide subject that I don't know that suffice to say a small answer is enough.
I get it. No, I think everything that you said, it hits my definition as well. It's like a man should be able to provide. A man should do whatever he has to be the best version of himself, right, so he can keep food on the table and everything. And
but remember, we're human and we're not perfect. So
sure.
Am I a perfect being? No, not at all.
Yep.
I think today it's hard to be a man sometimes.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's hard to be a man because society is now suppressing the other way.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh no, well, women can do it. Yeah, they can. Man, I have 3 sisters, 3 daughters. I am as pro-female as you could ever get. That wouldn't change me walking on the outside of the street and making sure my girl or my daughter
being what you feel as a gentleman. Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Like I was taught and trained and groomed that every woman is to be treated like your mother, your sister, your aunt, your grandmother.
I love that.
And so that a man does that. A man treats a woman properly.
Yeah.
Now, properly for me and properly for you may be 2 different things.
Yeah.
So a man is somebody who, all right, one step further, who's true to himself as a human being towards others.
I love that. That's a great definition, man. Right? That's a great definition.
I won't remember any of this shit.
No, that's okay.
It just comes out.
Well, yeah. No, look, but I hate being preachy on anything. It's like I'll talk about what I believe, but I don't like being preachy about anything. But I do think we are probably going to come to a head in the next 10, 15 years with how everything is being pushed agenda-wise to kids and everything, to where there's like a massive issue of, depopulation is already like the collapsing.
But listen,
it's a thing, right?
The pendulum swings.
It does.
And it comes back.
It does.
Right? So
that's fair.
There were laws in the 60s towards homosexuality that were ungodly. There's people trafficking going on right now that nobody even talks. This is slavery. Yeah. It swings. It's what rhetoric are you swallowing?
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying not to swallow any of
it. Because it doesn't serve you.
Because it doesn't serve me.
Yeah. Yep.
What serves me? This serves me.
Yep.
There are other things that serve me, but what serves me? What serves you?
Yep.
So what is your definition of men?
I think you summarize it very well, man. Like that's the way that I look at it too. I think of the warrior in a garden a lot, I've had to do many, many things that I didn't want to do and had to rebuild myself, tear myself apart, because I've learned that some just internal ways that I deal with things and process things don't work. And that's really fucking hard when you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, the way that I am, it may have gotten me to here, but it's not getting me here.
Well, we started off with, I'm the biggest loser you have ever met. That's how I asked you to introduce me, because that's the truth. Because I've made mistakes. You're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
How are we going to recover from those mistakes? Are we going to be aware of those mistakes? Are we going to do something different from those mistakes? Right. So, you're in a great spot. I love what you're doing. Love your message. Just keep doing more of it.
Look, Joe, I greatly appreciate it. I'm glad we got to sit down and have a conversation and everything. This has been fantastic. We got to get Rob on. This is us calling Rob out. Like you're going to do it, buddy.
Yeah, we're going to do this with you.
We're going to get him in. So I know you already have a massive following on Instagram, Facebook, all the platforms and everything. But if somebody watched this today and wants to find Joe, where do they go?
All right. So this is weird. Right, so social media can fuck right off. I say that personally.
Take that, algorithm.
Yeah, take that, algorithm. I say that, and a lot of times I mean it, because social media has been really good for me, and I've been involved. Like, I mean, we built our.
You've
business.
done a lot. You were a trailblazer in a lot of shit you did, man.
I built my business off of social media, right? And there was a time where that worked really well, but there's separating church and state, and I think that. At one point I had a personal Facebook, and then I had a professional one, and they kind of get intertwined. And like I said to you, hey, who I am in my professional life is one component of who I am.
Right.
So I shut my personal social media off like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Because it seemed like it was just people were judging who I was based off of either my professional or my personal. So I just didn't want that.
Okay.
So I shut my personal one down a long time ago. The professional, I now keep professional. So I don't keep any personal stuff or experiences. I'm not sharing personal shit on Facebook or Instagram. I was for a long time. They were integrated. Yeah. But that's also how I built my business. Like, people love the Joe Show. Right?
Yeah.
I remember I used to do it, and they're still up there on YouTube. I used to do the Joe Show, and I do weekly reports, and hey, it's a Joe Show, and I'm sick of the Joe Show. I'm tired of being Joe. So that's what happened with me. I'm just tired of being Joe.
You may be, but if people that enjoy it aren't,
well, they can fuck off, because I don't want to be that anymore.
All right, fair. Right? Fair. Say less.
No, I know. And actually, the people around me are like, hey, man, you need to do that. And I'm like, no.
Fair.
Don't tell me I need to do anything. But I understand that there's a place and a time, and like anything else, I might ebb and flow on that. So you can find me at protorque.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Protorque, PROTORQUE. And then, that's a division of Bonifante Racing, which is all high-level stuff. And then we've got some other companies. Kenny's is one, and some other stuff that I'm not allowed to talk about that's coming down the pipe. I do have a personal one that I started about 2 years ago that I'm going to leave alone. I believe that social media can be like everything else. It's good in, it's good out, right? So if it's like computers, you put shit in, you get shit out. I believe for me, it's an artistic outlet. So I take a lot of pictures. I'm actually doing some videos. My daughter, because I train. There are times I train hard, and for an older guy, I train pretty hard. And my daughter's like, you got to do a TikTok. I'm like, you could be an influencer. I'm like, ugh. So for fun, I post those videos, and also that's how I document my training. Right?
It's a great way.
It makes me liable to me. Like, you start putting up your heart rate monitor stuff and your distance stuff and your reps and your counts and your weight, which I put on occasion. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm accountable to myself. If I start going down the wrong path, you go, shit, man. Like, I put this out there.
Yeah.
I gotta be, I gotta. And then this winter I did something I haven't done. I hadn't lifted heavy in a while. And I'm like, can I still get strong? And I'm like, oh shit, I actually can. So I kind of documented that, but I keep that kind of on the DL. Social media is not bad, right? People are bad. It's like guns don't kill, right? People kill.
Yeah.
So social media is a gift that either you use or you misuse. In my case, it has been misused either by me, not really so much, but around me. And so I'm very careful about it.
What do you mean by that?
People say things like, well, forget about me. Let's take me out of the situation.
Yep.
Let's look at what were we talking about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, COVID. What did everybody do? They stayed home and fought on social media. Shit came out of people's mouths should have never been said.
Yeah.
Then the whole politics, like, okay, can we all just can we agree to disagree? What's wrong with people that they would get so heated about a subject? But we could talk about whatever you want.
Oh yeah,
and we
can
can agree to
just talk
disagree
about stuff that we don't agree on,
Right.
and it's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Agree to disagree. And so what happened was, I think social media became a conduit for a lot of negativity. And man, I just don't want negativity. So if there's any negativity, I'm out.
I get that. And we were talking earlier about the algorithm and everything. And I think it's probably been a few years now, but I really feel that I don't see too much stuff on social that I don't agree with, which I think is the algorithm working well because it's supposed to be
So I'm
an
paying
echo
attention
chamber,
to that.
right?
I'm paying attention to that. My girl's doing her TikTok and she's got all this funny stuff. Hysterical. Drinking, goats, cats, dogs. Just funny shit.
Yeah.
Right? Mine's all inspirational and motivational and rah, rah, rah. Yeah.
We had a conversation about this
Right?
before.
Rah,
Yeah.
And I love it, right? And I'm like, yeah, give me more, right? And Rob's is all political.
Yep, we
right?
talked about that. Yeah.
And political a certain way. And cool. Okay. Just don't shove anything down my throat.
Right.
So Rob will send me a political reel.
Or something.
And immediately I send him the Papa Swolio, go to the fucking gym. I don't know if you've seen him, but he's go to the gym, go to the fucking gym, go to the fucking gym. So every time he bothers me with political shit, I send him that. Go to the fucking gym.
He's never stopped though, right? He
No,
still
he
keeps
never
going.
stopped, right? But I haven't stopped either. So yeah,
That's awesome.
just don't shove anything down my throat. I tell you what I won't do. I won't shove anything down your throat.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think we're anywhere near the end of social media. Although there are some reports and that it's leveled off, but it's never going to level off.
Well, how could it climb, right? How could it when you've captured 100% of everybody, you know?
Have they?
Who do you know that's not on some form of social media?
I know people. They're
Not
general,
on any form.
I know a handful.
Yeah?
And I will tell you, I personally have backed off tremendously. I mean, there was a time it was everything. Now it's really not as important to me. I'll
I get that, but if you were starting again.
My kids your age, they backed off it almost completely. Remember, my daughter works for Google, though.
Fair. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Right.
Have more inside perspective.
And my son,
right?
my family, law school. So, yeah, they have their perspective. They're still on it, but just minimal.
Right. But all that being said, if you were starting over again today and you were building a business and you essentially had no tools and no resources that you already have at your disposal.
I'm doing that every day now, you know.
That's
I tell you.
But you're going to leverage the fuck out of it, right? You're going to do whatever you can to
Well,
maximize your reach with it.
You'd be foolish to believe that you would serve yourself well by not having social media in a new enterprise.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm in a unique position, right? At my age of 80, that my peers are going to be the ones who truly understand analog and digital. So I know what analog looks like. I know what it feels like. I know what it's like to get up and change the channel. Okay. I know what it is to read a Hagstrom map. Think about that for a second. Have you ever read a Hagstrom map?
No.
Okay. I know what it is to not have a cell phone. I know what it is to not have electronics. I know what it is to hammer on a piece of steel and make something, right? I know what it is to not have Amazon. I know what it is to not have DoorDash. I know what it is to cut the lawn. I know what it is to weld at 12, right? I know what it is to take a 1972 Duster and put new rings in it. I know what it is to not have a push-button phone. I know what it is to not have the internet. My age group knows all of what you guys know and all that shit. So there's this break-off period, analog digital, right? And it's a unique time. I think there's going to be a unique group of people for, like in 1920, there was none of that. 2020, there's all of that. What's going to happen in 2030 or 2021 and 20?
Yeah.
Right? There'll be no trace of analog.
Yeah.
Right? There'll be no trace of analog. So I actually embrace it. I think that's the coolest thing. I have an anvil tattooed on my back. Most people, do you know? I'll ask. Do you know what an anvil is?
Yes. Yeah.
But you know that a lot of people in your age group wouldn't even know what an anvil is.
For sure.
An anvil is what you beat to make beautiful things. Mm-hmm. An anvil is what created everything for the industrial age, right? I mean, I'm saying everything, but you beat steel. You'd beat steel into make what you need, right? And that is the most analog thing that I could ever think of. Right?
I love that.
Right, and it's also my thing is you can beat it, but you can't break it, which is where I'm at. Right,
so that was a symbolism for you.
Yeah, you can beat me, but I'm going to make beautiful things, and you can beat me, but you will never be able to break me. And I'm about this strength thing, right? So we're in a unique time. So social media is fucking noise. It's noise.
It's noise. I agree.
And you can either pull the noise, what songs you want out of it, or not. But we've survived for thousands of years before social media.
Yeah.
We'll survive thousands of years after social media.
Of course we will.
It's a conduit and a tool that you get to choose how you want to use.
Right.
And for me, I have that been flowed on it. Do I believe that we'll be always, would I want to run a business without it? Well, if I was selling hot dogs, no. I'd be like, I don't need that. If I'm selling hot dogs on the beach
too, but
listen, but I'd sell the fuck out of hot dogs without it. I can tell you that
for sure,
right?
For sure.
So, I think that we do need to. I will say this: if we're talking about business, right? I think you hit on this in some of your podcasts, and hopefully this is a snippet. Rob and I go back and forth about this all the time. To me, traditional advertising is dead. And to me, the social media algorithms are not always easy, right? Not saying that they're not doable, they're doable. But what we forget is the relationship portion of how you do business. So that's just a conduit for conversation. But this is also a conduit for conversation, which is more important. Like, would I base my business only on social media or no, never. I base my business on relationships. That's how you build business, right? Yep. That's how you build, and building relationships in business is important.
Yep. You
also hit on something that I loved. Man, handshake deal. Rob and I had a handshake deal. Still have a handshake deal. That's 3 years later, right? We will continue to do handshake deals. One of the greatest movie I've ever seen, like my son was a film major. He's like, Dad, what's your favorite movie? I go, I don't know. I don't have a favorite movie. It was The Bronx Tale.
Okay.
All right, Bronx Tale. Two concepts. Oh, there's a lot of concepts in there that I love. Concept number one is a real man gets up and goes to work every day. Right? A tough guy gets up and goes to work every day. And that's how I live my life. And $20, it costs you $20 to get that guy out of your life. Mm-hmm. So you go, hey, handshake deal. And you lost money on handshake deals, but you know what? I'd rather learn about it now than have a $100,000 deal and the guy doesn't follow through.
Yep.
Right. So I respect that you're still in that old school mentality. And by the way, that's a luxury to be able to do.
Yeah.
If your cash flow has to be above the waterline to be able to say, I can do this to see where I'm going to be so I can watch the trajectory.
Yep.
Right. I'll take that every day of the week. So yeah, I still believe very much in that.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah. It's weird because it's burned me a lot of times. And especially when I have had mentors that are like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. Why are you doing that? You could have seriously just put one piece of paper in place and guarded yourself. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't get how you're not getting my perspective, right?
It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah. And yeah.
This guy's going to screw you whether you got the paper or not.
That's it.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So as you talk,
And if he wouldn't, just because of that piece of paper, then, you know, on that bigger deal that's going to happen in the future, he will find a way, right? So that's my perspective.
Then again, me coming out with, you know, being the closet hippie that I am, karma's a bitch.
Absolutely.
And she dogs you hard while she's biting your neck on the back.
Yep.
Right? Like, you get what you give.
Totally agree.
That's those guys that do that, yeah, go ahead. I'm cool with that because it's coming around to you.
Totally agree.
But on the opposite side of that, all the good things you've done are also coming around to you.
Yeah.
Being able to recognize the good things, that's something I've struggled with. I've got a deal right now that we're working on that it's a walk-on. It's a relationship deal. I can't really talk about it, but it's like a sweetheart deal. And it's just based off of the fact that I was really good friends with a fierce competitor. And it's his time to do something. He had, I can't give you the details, right? So at some point, actually I can give you the details. 'Cause by the time this shit gets cut up, guy passed away. His wonderful wife that we had we all had a good relationship with was like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. And we worked out a deal so that we can maintain the brand and build it back up. And that was strictly, it wasn't a monetary, it's an emotional relationship deal. Hey, we can do this together and we'll both be successful at it, right? So no social media on that one.
Yeah.
That's just relationships, right?
That's huge. So. Now, you could argue that too, though, and say that a lot of your success has stemmed from the social media in the past, which built who you are, which built your brand, which indirectly led to that, you know? So there's always a way to tie it back together. I know. It's
let me be a dreamer, right? No, you're right. You're right. And I am the perfect example of how social media could help a company.
Because it catapulted you, right? Yeah.
Well, no.
Dude, look, even when we first met and I saw what you were doing with social. Fair, but it amplifies. Amplifies. That's the thing. That's what a lot of these like influencers that are coming out that have no fucking business history or anything, and they're like, oh man, well, I have better content than the next guy, but you've never done anything, you know? Like social media can amplify what you're already doing if you already have a proven track record and everything. Right. Like you can say the best things in the world, but if you've never actually done it, you've never built a business, you've never helped a person in your life, you shouldn't get mass distribution, right?
I wasn't driven by social media. I was driven by success of the product.
That's right.
It was exploited by the success of social media.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have the same availability or the same opportunities today, but I'm not sure, right? So I know things can blow up, but it's not the way it used to blow up. And if we want to talk about racing, right? We talk about this, you know, we have some of the greatest minds and personalities in racing that we're surrounded by. Man, in my world, the outlaw drag racing world, man, there's nothing new and exciting. You know, you go back 10, 12 years ago, every night, you know, Donald's race or the drag rail races or the pro mod races or the shakedown. Wednesday night, they break the record, internet would blow up. Thursday night, they break the record, internet would blow up. Friday, it broke twice. It was everybody was, they couldn't get enough of it. I don't see that anymore. I don't see where there's anything so exciting where it's lighting everything up anymore. That's a kind of a bummer for me. And I'm not really sure. I'm not sure why, right?
I think I can not definitively point to it, but in the growth of anything, there's more opportunity because there's nothing is explored yet, right? Yeah. But when there's traction on something and it's been around for a while and you do have a lot of guys competing at that top level and everything, how much more can you innovate without actually just throwing everything out and creating something entirely new? You know, it's like everything that can be done already has been done. And that can be said not just about racing, but a lot of things.
I might want to argue that. Because I was told before I got into racing, it's all been done before. I'm like, okay, cool. Then I just don't want to do it. And then when I got into turbo cars, and that's really what we turned the world upside down on, right?
Sure.
Was turbo cars. They're like, well, it needs to do this and that. I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? And then I started going down a traditional path that wasn't working. I go, that's not going to work. I got to start doing shit out of the box. And then all of a sudden we were picking up, 4/10 and 4 to 6
It's a
miles
big
per
deal.
hour on, 3,000 horsepower, 4,000 horsepower. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
So there's always something to be done, right?
There
what
is.
I'm saying is
There is.
there's a lack of excitement. And I'm not a negative guy at all. I just haven't seen a whole lot of excitement about a lot lately. And maybe the COVID thing put things on. I don't know. You talk about innovation, right? So what we did then was really innovative because it had never been done before. But then, like anything else, everybody copies it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody used to be like, oh, they copied your shit. I'm like, whatever. What am I going to do? That's happened to me my entire life. Why don't you get mad? I go, what's the point? Because all they did was copy yesterday's innovation.
Yep.
So you can steal lots of things. You can borrow lots of things. Your R&D could be rob and duplicate every day, all day long. You cannot rob and duplicate innovation.
You can't.
Either you have that mindset, or you don't. So for me, for you, being innovative is probably more important to me than anything else. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't use that mindset to do something different and then monetize something else, right?
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen with Drew? Maybe Drew's going to use this and monetize that and innovate here.
Yep.
So I'm deep in the middle of a project for an OE manufacturer, which I can't really talk about, which helps drive my innovation hamster. Okay, this is happy. All right, how do we make money over here while keeping this guy happy? So
I love that.
the end of the day, we have to be happy.
Yeah.
You have to do things that make you happy, but you also have to do things that make you money.
Totally.
So I don't really understand the workings of your business and or the revamp business, but that will never change.
Right.
Your type of personality, my type of, you've got to keep yourself mentally engaged, mentally fulfilled. That non-monetary reward has to be high.
Yep.
But you also have to do the monetary reward. So, I think that's really the challenge.
Yeah, and I think that ties back to the ADHD thing a little bit as well, because I think that, when you do something for too long, it gets boring, even if it was the most innovative thing ever when you did it and when you created it. Now you're doing the same thing every single day, day in and day out for 3, 4, 5 years, even if there's a level of success.
You're trying to make me cry.
It doesn't feel like success anymore. I know, because I live it, man.
Yeah, you're trying to make me cry.
It's like the way that right now for me that I am still innovating and feeling invigorated about it is, I developed a new website. Like you said, you got a new tool and everything that's still you doing what you do and being good at it, but sprinkling in some innovation to keep yourself engaged. And it's a parallel to the industry that you already serve and everything. And it's a way that you can, just be interested in what's going on.
That's right. That's right. And we talked about, you said something about nature, right? Being naturally weary of other people. That's nature. That's how it is. If you're, like I said to you before, if I'm a gorilla, so I tend to.
Are you a gorilla, Jim?
I tend to identify as a silverback gorilla. There are other primates that, if we were in the jungle and we didn't speak, I'd naturally be wary of that.
Yeah.
Until you prove different. Until I prove different. So that's a natural. We forget that we're animals.
Absolutely, man.
Right? So that's one thing I learned about 12 years ago. Somehow, I got married when I was really young. I was 19, had two kids, a house, a business, a building by the time I was 22. And I learned that I suppressed all of my innate behaviors. And at some point, everything came back, like sense of smell, taste, sight, everything. And you go, whoa, I'm an animal. If we do not recognize that, yes, we're human beings, but we're animals. Dude. And do not recognize your human innate behaviors. Yep. I think we're making a mistake. Also, that's communication.
Totally is.
So you and I talk.
Just understanding everything.
Watching your podcast, I was like, man, I love this guy. It's communication. But most communication, the most important thing. So I told you, you need to read the 5 Languages of Love. Communication is everything. I want to rewrite that book. He missed the most important communication. Body language. Body language to me says everything. That's huge. I don't listen to people. It's terrible. It's a blessing and a curse, right? Your body tells me everything I need to know.
I get it. Isn't that a part of that though? Like I said, I've never read that book.
It is not a part of that book.
Really?
It is immensely. It's a wonderful book. Wonderful. Everybody should read it. It's flawed. It's flawed because you can say, and you know, for those who have read or understand it, hey, I bought you flowers and I want to take you here and I'm going to pet your arm and I love you very much and you're a wonderful person, right? And so you hit on all those things. Or you go, hey, I bought you this book. We're going to go over there and yeah, let's go.
Totally
Same
different.
message.
Totally different. Yeah.
Same message.
Yep.
Delivered completely different. So if you say all those things, that's great.
Yep.
But if your body says something different, you can fuck right off.
Yep.
Are we cursing, not cursing?
Totally good, man. Do you know me, brother? Do you know me?